Welcome to Journey of an Aesthete podcast. Amy Pike is our guest on this episode. They're going to start doing some episodes related to Hurricane Helene and what's happened to people because of that hurricane, and also how, in your case, of course, specifically the River Arts area, River Arts District, which is one of the great is one of the great artistic communities in the United States, and is world renowned and everything. And now they're struggling. You guys are struggling, so we could talk about that, of course. But also, you're Amy Pike, and you make jewelry, and you are a musician, a singer.
Correct.
And I was introduced to you, I think, through Joanne Davis, I believe.
Yes.
And so, people connecting with each other, and here we are, and welcome to our episode. But you could start wherever you want to start if you want to talk about anything that comes to your mind, how you became a jewelry maker, or how you became for the beginnings, or you could start to talk about the current situation, or whatever you want to talk about.
All right. Well, let's start with Helene, since that's what's brought us together.
Yeah.
I was working at a studio in the River Arts District called Ignite Jewelry Studio. That's how I met Joanne. She's a jeweler who would sell work there. I taught classes in that for the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Gallery and a little sort of a school set up. And so the flood came and wrecked it. I mean, that place was up in the top floor of a very
Wow.
14-foot ceilings, and it came into the top floor 2 feet up in our spot. So everything that was on the floor got covered in mud, mold, all that, So we went over there and emptied it out about 4 or 5 days after the flood happened. And it was very heartbreaking to see the destruction down there and just mud everywhere that smelled terrible.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, toxic smelling and like gasoline and all kinds of who knows what in there. That building was over 100 years old. It had been a time. Beautiful big old brick building, again with these tall ceilings and big beams and everything. So the building still stands, which is unusual because everything around pretty much been knocked over. We had to gut it. They had to pull out everything, drywall and all the everything because of the mold.
Wow.
So I don't know, if there are plans to rebuild it or enough money to do that or what have you. But the business that I worked for is not going back. It's going to take so long to rebuild it. And it's, art studios are not famous for making a ton of money, So starting over is hard, Also, I have been living on that, on jewelry for all this time, teaching, selling jewelry in galleries in Asheville. Asheville for about 20 years and relied on tourism as my income.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Working in restaurants and selling jewelry. All the galleries that I sell jewelry in have been closed.
Yeah.
I also had another part-time job where I worked at the Gallery of the Mountains in the Grove Park Inn. That's been closed. Actually, they're opening it today for the first time since the storm. Because water issues.
Water issues, yeah.
So a lot of restaurants can't open, hotels, because of the water being non-potable. But for my personal experience, it has been kind of amazing that a lot of people came together to me. A lot of friends. I mean, I have a lot of friends through music who came and bought jewelry from me and just have been so supportive.
Yeah.
A lot of people across the country really love Asheville and the art scene. And so it's been incredible, the outpouring of help that we've received. There's all kinds of grants that are coming through for the artists who've had, their studios destroyed and all their work. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see. When I was there helping clean out that studio, there was just paintings all over the place, just covered in mud, you know, just piles of easels sitting beside the building, and just it was heartbreaking to see it.
Wow. Where are we now? Where am I talking to? Where may I ask where you are now?
In a home studio in my house in Candler.
Oh,
To the
okay.
town. I live outside the city,
Yeah.
but in the same county as Asheville. And
Okay.
lucky for me, I have a studio at home, so
Yeah.
keep making stuff. And I am a member of the Southern Highland Craft Guild.
Oh, okay.
We have a big show every year in October, which is usually like kind of our winter money.
Mm,
Everybody really relies on that. That thing got canceled because of the
sure.
storm. It was normally held in the Civic Center downtown, which became a staging for first responders and for donations and things like that. So that show got closed down. But there's another guild out in the Piedmont, down in the flat,
Okay.
that invited some of us to come and be in their show. So I'm going to be doing that next week. And that is such a godsend for me.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot to consider and take in, certainly. Um, did you? So you're in Candler, and you identify you're from the South, correct? You're from this area.
Well, I've lived here for 20 years, but
Uh-huh. Well, I hear in your voice, I hear something. I could be wrong, but
I'm about Southern as they come. I was
yeah,
born in New Orleans and worked my way up here.
New Orleans. I'm from New York City.
Okay.
I'm a real Yankee, real Northern. I'm your work. I mean, I'm as Northern as they can get. The way you're as Southern as you can get. The differences between the two cultures to me are so astonishing. Like I did not know. So I came here in 2018. So I'm really a newcomer, and I'm still in shock, still adjusting to the Southern ways, which are utterly foreign to me, almost like a different planet. Not to, but I'm just curious your thoughts about what that is. Is it just two different ways of seeing reality, or different? Um, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it's really that different, honestly. But
People do say that. To me, it's different. So I understand that other people may not. To me, the difference is
I've been to New York, and it was, it's a hustle and bustling city, but
yeah,
people are people.
that's true. That's true.
There
Um,
are a lot of cultural differences that I may not recognize because it's just what I'm used to.
mm, yeah, there's that too.
Just live south, like from New Orleans to Asheville, is pretty different.
Yeah, so you're saying Asheville is different than Louisiana,
Yeah.
and that could be a difference of geography and history, And
Yeah. And just
um,
cultural tradition and things like that. A lot
uh-huh.
has to do with like the weather and the environment you're in.
Yeah.
Swamp to mountains. There's going to be
Oh,
something
yeah.
about how people had to live to survive, and that stuff
Sure.
through generations.
Yeah, I mean, I often wonder about it. I mean, I don't know. That's the only reason why I bring it up, because it's interesting. I'm wondering, you are really accomplished at what you do. I should say extraordinarily accomplished, and I'm wondering, I guess not to go too far back in time, if you don't mind, how does one become the maker that you are? Like, is it just, or what is your story in terms of how you learned how to make things like you make, and what is that? Did it start when you were little, or later, or
Well,
what? Is,
only are artists. My dad was a potter. I,
oh, okay.
I was raised at art shows. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
so really, I didn't have a choice. I I was doomed from the get go. Like,
So it's almost like a family business, your
I
family.
don't know, it's a family tradition for certain. Um, my kids also, one of them is an art teacher for elementary school kids. The other one is in school for jazz guitar. So, none of us have any money, but we're very happy. And that's pretty good. Um, yeah, my dad was a potter, and he uh, I was born in the 60s, raised in the 70s.
Right, right.
He was very into the whole DIY. I remember
Sure.
him making his own soap and shoes and all of
Yeah,
this. Mother Earth News book was, in my
yeah, I
home.
remember that.
So,
You remember Yule Gibbons?
oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So,
So I come out of that too because my dad was Aubrey Hampton and Aubrey Organics.
okay.
Yeah, well, that company's over, unfortunately. It died about a year ago, but that was the very first natural cosmetics manufacturing company in the United States, if not the world. And so growing up, as I did in the 60s and 70s, Yule Gibbons and stocking the cauliflower and the animal rights and all these kinds of issues were very big.
Right.
My family was talking about these things long before anybody else, and my dad was talking about such things in the early to mid 70s, before the 90s and before it became. So it's interesting to be early hearing about such matters, and it's interesting that there's a connection. But when you're a child, see, I that was not my childhood. I probably had never seen an artist. I know I never seen an artist studio until I was 16 or 17. I had been to all the great museums in the world. I'd been to the Louvre because I was widely traveled, and of course in MoMA. I grew up going to MoMA and Guggenheim in New York City, and so very high art. But I never saw actual artists making things. So what is it like to be a little girl or a child and be around that? That must have been, you see your dad, and what is that like, or what can you? It's interesting, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah, I guess it's different. I mean, I was in Huntsville, Alabama when I was a kid. My dad,
Mhm,
when he began his pottery adventure, he actually had been a draftsman for Boeing
mhm.
launches, and
For
he,
Boeing Aviation or the
yeah, at the Redstone Arsenal there in Huntsville.
oh military.
That's where they used to make the Apollo rockets.
Right, right, right.
So a draftsman is not a thing anymore because CAD, but back in those days, they were drawing all the stuff. And
Sure.
my dad drew every nut and bolt in Apollo 5, which was one of the biggest rockets that we ever sent up. So
Hmm.
that's neat. And then um, Boeing went bankrupt when they moved
Oh,
everything to Florida for the shuttle.
uh-huh.
So Boeing went bankrupt, and my dad decided to become a potter
Huh.
at that time. Yeah, he had been wanting to do it. He had been kind of piddling with it like hobbyist for some time.
Yeah.
Chose decided to try to make it a living. He never made a great living at it, but he was very happy and well respected in his industry. And he sort of ingrained the craftsman. Um,
Uh-huh.
what's the right?
Ethic. A craftsman ethic, maybe, or yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a life spent in the
Yeah.
quest for excellence in your craft is a life well spent. You know,
Yeah.
so for me, I when I got to be known as a youngster, I was into music, so I started doing music for a long time. I was a bass player at first,
Oh, wow.
and some stuff, and then I figured out that I could sing pretty good, and I started singing. Um, and by that time, I was living in Atlanta, um, where in the South, like you grew up in a big city, but if you grew up in small towns in the South,
Yeah.
you're like ready to spread your wings and whatnot. There's kind of two big cities. You pick either Atlanta or Miami. Go,
Yeah.
you know, try to seek your fortune. For me, it was Atlanta,
Well,
and
you chose an instrument that's much in demand. Bass playing, as you know, is more. So that's I don't know if that was on purpose or just crafty on your part. Uh, I chose the piano, which was ill-advised. I mean, I love the piano dearly, but there are too many pianists, and it's unfortunately, an overrepresented instrument. But the bass, I don't know. Last time I was in, there was always a shortage of bassists on gigs and band, right? So was that that you're always in demand or
well, I was not thinking that far ahead. I
oh, okay.
had that. liked the low end and wanted to play the bass. I don't know why.
Right.
Like the right thing for me. But, you know, after a few years of lugging around a big old bass amp, um,
Right.
I sang a song with the band that I played bass with, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you should be singing." And oh, I could just carry a notebook.
Yeah. You don't have to carry a bass. You could just carry yourself.
Ridiculous
Yeah.
trying 410s and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I started singing, and I had a pretty good little career doing rockabilly and swing in the '90s. You
Yeah.
know,
That was big in the 90s.
yeah, it was big.
Really big.
Yeah, so I
Um,
up and down the East Coast. You know, that was my job
oh,
for a while, and um, then I started having kids. And,
uh-huh.
because of the traveling, you know, I lived in town Atlanta in an area called Cabbagetown,
Right.
and that is it was a wonderful spot full of artists because it was a dumpy little mill town and it was cheap.
Yeah.
Tons of musicians and artists there, and it was terrific for me at that time. But having children in that neighborhood was hard because I couldn't let my kids go outside and play. They weren't safe, you know.
Mm.
So started looking around, you know, where of a place to raise my kids, and so that's why I chose Asheville. It was kind of in the middle. I thought, wow, this is, you know, for touring up and down the East Coast,
Yeah.
you know, and a beautiful spot, lovely place for kids and stuff.
It brings to mind, I mean, we're talking about, of course, you're talking about playing, performing in public. You know, a musician performs in public is very different than making something in the studio when you're isolated, more introverted. You know, it's a very different. So you've covered the two aspects: the performing, singing, and playing, but also being in the making intimate things with your hands. You have it both covered, which is interesting. You know, I often think of people excel more in one or the other. You know, and they kind of, some people like to entertain like I do. I'm very much an extrovert, entertaining all the time. I can't take too much solitude for too long, and so it's interesting how you've experienced both aspects of art making. But I'm wondering something you said earlier about, I think it was about money or budgets and river arts, and I was thinking, um, you know, there's on the one hand there's a demand, is always depend is probably a strong word, but you want to have the tourism to sell the beautiful things that you make. But on the other hand, you said that there's often not resistance, but indifference to maybe, you know, if we talk about things like that are popular, like a stadium or sports is very big, and you know things like that, that there'll be investment, and that, you know, what's your feeling of the position of the arts in general in our culture, and you know that's the, I mean, I hope there's great sympathy for river arts and that the people come through and help the area. But you said that not everybody's into it, and what's your feeling about that, or do you think about that at all? Or,
Oh, sure. Well, that's a toughie. So, of course, like sports and things like that get so much money. You know, I
yeah.
mean, like I have a kid who's an art teacher. You know,
Oh, wow.
that's not, you're not going to make a great living, you know, doing that. I mean, I'm an
Yeah.
art teacher. I'm
You're
telling
an art teacher.
you, yeah, it's not, but it brings people so much joy too, you know.
It does.
I mean, so like the whole tourism of Asheville is beautiful mountains and groovy art, you
An
know.
art. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I'm including food and drink in my
An
district.
art.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they are art forms, and
Yeah.
often to that degree here.
Hmm.
When people would ask me about restaurants, for instance, I would tell them, "Oh, well, you can't really go wrong. Just don't go to a chain. You know, go to any little local restaurant here. They're all trying."
Well, the food is excellent here, of course, and you know, in some cases unusually good, compared to the rest of the United States. You know, but it's good that you can play, like you can play Chamber of Commerce. Say, well, you go here. My friend runs this place, runs that place. I know this place, and I know someone who cooks there. But your son teaches art. Is this in a school, public school, private school?
Just got um just got his teaching license and moved
Oh,
He moved. He moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, where my mom's from, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Interesting.
Well, he chose that because they take better care of teachers in Pennsylvania than they
Oh,
do.
yeah.
And so, and also looking for a little bit bigger city to live
Sure.
in. But he and my younger son helped him move up there this summer, and they both tell me it's like big Asheville.
Yeah, well,
Some rivers, and yeah, they really liked it. So I don't know. You got to go. I mean, one of the things for me, I always tell people, like, if you want to know what part of town is going to gentrify next, follow me. Okay.
oh,
Because I'm going to go to a place that is, run down. Like River Arts was nothing 10, 20 years ago.
okay.
People started renovating these old crummy buildings that nobody wanted to deal with, and turned it into something fun and beautiful, and like thousands of visitors every weekend go there. And
Absolutely. I mean, the same thing happened in other, so the cities I know about are Boston and New York, because I lived in Boston for 35 years. And there are areas there that were abandoned, but artists come in and take it over. And of course, the lofts in New York City lofts in the 70s. I mean, this is the thing over and over, is people coming in and creating things and finding an opportunity where rents are lower,
right,
and coming in and making something.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
right. And I'm pretty fearful that that's what's going to happen in this situation.
Oh, that what?
Yeah, the River Arts District. I mean, just to think about the cost of rebuilding all those buildings down there. It's
Yeah.
How are they going to give cheap rents that artists can afford?
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to end up being a lot of condos and stuff down there.
No.
I just don't see anybody, wanting to come down here and spend billions of dollars to rebuild a thing that people can afford $300 a month,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that may be very pessimistic of me to say, but, just watching how the land and the real estate has gone in our town for the last 20 years it's just, it's kind of like, well, that's how it goes.
Well, people often feel a sense of inevitability about all that. I don't think those things are ever inevitable. They just feel inevitable.
Yeah.
They're just an accumulation of priorities and biases. When I say priorities and biases, I mean of millions of people working together in government or in private sectors. And accumulatively over time, they translate into saying, no, that's not important to me. That thing, but this thing is important. So yes, that's how you end up with, I guess it's the nightmare scenario or whatever the scenario so yes, they become condos because a society decides it doesn't want to invest in something like that. It wants to invest in something like a bank or housing for rich people or something, but it doesn't want to invest in collective. It's not done willfully on purpose. It isn't like guys in a room. This is the mistake a lot of the extremist political. I think there's a room where people get together. No, it's a kind of a benign malice, if I can put it that. It's a kind of a little bit, accumulates, and so then you end up with a situation. But there's a lot of hypocrisy with people because these people that are contributing to a negative outcome also are themselves needing that ring to propose to somebody, or maybe like to wear necklaces, or maybe they want to have a wall with a painting on it. So people are kind of funny. There's interesting, I don't know if hypocrisy, they're kind of, do you know what I mean? They're a little bit,
yeah,
kind of my take on it.
Yeah. Cake and eat it too, or some kind of thing.
Yeah. Because they want the thing, but they don't want they want something for nothing. They want the thing, but they don't want to pay a decent wage for the thing. They don't want to pay the artist that made the thing, but they want the thing, and that's the kind of I use the term malicious. It's not unethical. It's a little, because after all, people should be paid, and
yeah,
it's like wanting something but not wanting to do the work that goes into or not thinking about the work that goes into the thing.
Yeah,
it's made. Do you have anything there right now that you're most proud of that you can show us that's either in your vicinity?
Well, little earrings just moments ago.
Can you move closer to the?
Let's see. Where's the thing?
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Little bells.
You're saying you just made that?
I just finished it. Yeah.
Finished it before the show.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm working to get ready for this show for next week, as I said.
Uh-huh.
So I've been working at it, pretty much night and day.
Yeah.
Stuff together because all of my jewelry is stuck in galleries that are not open right now.
Because
So
they were drowned. Would that be the term? They were destroyed or drowned or?
no, they just weren't open because Asheville closed.
Oh, Asheville closed. Yeah. So it's one or the other, either something drowned or something closed.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
of lack of water.
Yeah. 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 It's a mess. But I there's a couple of little silver linings that we've seen. A lot of my friends have been saying, "Oh, we can go downtown now, and it's not overrun." They're giving free parking.
What did our governor say? Stay home. Didn't the governor right after the hurricane? Didn't Cooper or whoever it was say we don't want you here? Stay home.
Yeah,
Remember that?
they did say that, and they were right.
We all clapped, didn't we? The governor. We didn't you say thank you, Cooper? I was like, yeah,
yeah. They reopened. I mean, they changed
yeah,
the Asheville Arts or whatever Asheville Tourism,
right,
and come back but be nice. Like,
yeah. What is that?
good luck with that, right? But I think some people are coming, but it is a little different. I mean, I don't know if you've gone to
Oh yeah.
or anything. This bottled water, and you can't get a fountain drink, and
Oh no, it's different. I mean, it's yeah, infrastructure being destroyed. Infrastructure is everything, right?
yeah,
If you can't breathe oxygen, and you can't breathe your air, and you can't drink the water, that's a pretty profound everything. That's what makes everything go. Yeah, everything else go.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's been to me so. It's the water. It's the water. It's the water. The water came. The water destroyed, and then the water.
Yeah.
Now we're left with no water.
Well, you're saying it's too much water. That's the case of hurricanes. You have too much water, then not enough water, right? Or lack of water.
Yeah.
A drought.
Right.
Or water that's poisoned or not safe and all that. And is the water safe? And
yeah.
no.
We've been using the government showers and stuff.
Oh yeah, Red Cross.
Yeah.
Red Cross has really helped out so many people. You normally don't shout out institution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been amazing. The National Guard
too. Yeah.
They're filling our water buckets. And,
yeah.
There's a bunch of, I can't say from other people's perspectives, but for me and being an artist from River Arts, there's been so many wonderful. There's Plus is this national craft organization that helps craftsmen that are in emergency, grants and stuff. There's, other communities have been helping. Asheville Arts Council give out grants, and those things have been so helpful because, if we don't have the tourists in October, wow, February is going to suck. We won't. I mean, I've been thinking like I didn't lose my home to the flood, but I could lose my home to the bank.
Yeah.
Because I've been out of work for 6 weeks.
Sure.
So that has been pretty stressful,
Yeah. Well, I don't know if shows like this can help. I mean, I've tried to do. I mean, there's that's one of the reasons I'm having you on the show is just to you kind of trying to throw acorns out there and and see what I can do. Whatever I can do, it's hard.
Yeah. Well,
there's no harm in trying. You can just make your best effort, but that's why I use the example. If somebody's going to want a diamond bracelet or something for their, I mean, we making things, you got to support. If you got to support you got to support the humans that make the thing you love. if
Right.
you love playing, right, that's kind of the way I would put
Well,
it.
they're thinking about just, how about keep money in your community?
That too, yeah.
Um, American. There's
Yeah, that's true.
a lot of, I mean, you could sit here and buy a bunch of junk off of Amazon that's made in China, or
Yeah.
you could go buy
Well,
some.
I'll have you know that my Farrah Fawcett cup came from Farrah Fawcett herself and her foundation before she died. It goes to cancer research, and this was made here.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, it's not, nothing against brunettes or redheads. I should say this is just one person. I'm not, um, but yeah, yeah, you just kind of do what you can, right,
Mhm.
in this world. But I have a good feeling about the people you're around have been really helpful, right? You've kind of
I have a wonderful community that's,
wonderful community, yeah.
I mean, honestly, like because of music, honestly.
Yeah, music.
I had such a long, I mean, I still sing with this band in Atlanta,
Oh,
and I commute down there
oh,
to,
you do. When's your next gig in Atlanta?
let's see. I think my next one is going to be a Christmas party in December, but I
Okay.
called the Bonaventure Quartet,
Bonaventure Quartet, everybody.
and it's kind of Reinhardt inspired, but
Okay.
singer, which is not normally with Django music, but they let me do it, and it's great. Yeah, I've been in that group for 22 years, 23 maybe. Yeah, a long time.
Do you folks play any Reinhardt songs? Django Reinhardt songs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
His work hard, isn't it? He's tricky. He's not an easy. His charts are not
yeah,
are not easy. They're
yeah. Well, all the people in this group are highly accomplished. Most of them are actors, you know. The main guy that is our band leader um, is really, really into the gypsy jazz. He goes to a big Django in June thing
Django.
every year. Spends a whole week or 2 weeks. I don't even know. It's a long time with pickers from all over the world that love the pomp they call it. You know.
David Grisman and David Grisman, right? And Stefan Grappelli and those cats from the
Yep.
old the Hot Club de France,
Yes. Yeah.
Hot Club de France.
So, yeah, we've been doing that. I mean, actually, as I was saying earlier, I did rockabilly and swing for a long time,
Uh-huh.
and this fellow Charles Williams was doing a fill-in gig with me, um, and we played Leaf actually, and
Okay.
so he came and did that with us, and just as I was winding that band down, like kind of the swing thing was ending, um, he was he and I saw each other at a hot club of it was a hot club of Texas, or it was a hot club of Cowtown.
Cowtown, yeah.
He said we should make one of these bands, and so we did.
For audiences or listeners who aren't as knowledgeable as we are, how would you describe the difference in some of these musical styles? You mentioned swing. Are you talking about Western swing, or is it
um,
a different kind of?
it was more like uh, dance music, not Texas, but
Also, actual urban, like 40s, that swing.
yeah, yeah, jump
Yes, okay.
a little bit of jump blues in there,
Jump blues, yeah.
that kind of stuff. So people were doing those dances in the
Yeah,
90s thing,
right. That was very big then.
the and I was touring doing that for a long time, and I made my living doing that, and it was great.
That's amazing.
The swing dancers don't drink because they'll
Oh,
get
right.
So if you are at a nightclub and the audience is not drinking, that does
Yeah.
not make the nightclub owner happy, you see.
Oh,
So that was the actual death of that movement, was the fact that people were staying sober.
yeah.
I could see it because I was a bartender too, and I was on stage one time here in Asheville at a little club here now,
Huh.
and I looked down in front of me, and there was three people sharing a $1 bottle of water. And I said to my guitar player, like, that is the nail in our coffin right there, my friend.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're back to economics and again, right? The cost of living and
Right.
what people will pay for or won't pay for, and I know that the pianist Ahmad Jamal, who was a strict observant Muslim. A lot of people don't know that about him. One of the greatest, actually one of the great pianists of the 20th century. Ahmad Jamal was ranked alongside Keith Jarrett and Art Tatum and Bill Evans and Herbie Hancock or any of those folks you want to mention. He was so frustrated with the alcohol-centric culture of jazz that he tried to create an all dry jazz club. It was an utter failure, with no drinks served. I think his experiment.
Yeah, the whole reason nightclubs have bands is to get people to drink more.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Keep
it's
them so they stay and drink more.
it's just the sociology of art. That's the sociology of art. The sociology of music, in this case, music. By which I mean how music is consumed, how music is listened to. Are you dancing? Are you not dancing? Do you eat and drink, or is it a concert hall where you don't serve drink and you're just classical music? You sit in a chair, and in the rock, the punk and the rock folks, they stand up and coming out of the late 70s, early 80s, and then disco. There's so many different kinds, right? Kinds of music. The way the music is, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
The diversity of music, the world's music, and how people play music.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, one of the guys that plays with us sometimes on accordion.
Oh wow!
Also, the organ player for the Braves.
Oh okay.
And that's pretty great. He is so clever. He's so quick, and he knows every song. He just knows all the songs, and so time a player comes onto the field, he'll take their name or something about them and play some song that's kind of like a joke.
Oh.
And it's astounding how quick he is and figuring that stuff out. And so there you go. What kind of jobs do musicians have? Well, here's a way this guy figured out how to get sports and music all.
He's kind of probably a pretty well-known person in Atlanta, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, he's well loved and hated by,
the opposing team or whoever.
Right. They get really annoyed with his little jab.
I mean, it's just remarkable. Is there anything else you want to say about River Arts, or anything else comes to your mind, or?
Well, I think I've pretty much covered what I know. I mean, they are trying to reopen. There are a lot of studios that didn't get destroyed. As you know, that area is quite large. I was in completely wrecked, but just a little ways up the street, that's a higher ground, they're still cooking. And so last weekend they did a little kind of reopening. Had some, like a fair, like people outside selling stuff in tents and whatnot. And so there is hope for it to return. It'll surely look different, but I think that luckily Asheville tourism relies on it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will help, keep it from just getting completely commercialized down there. I'm kind of hoping that they'll make some of the low-lying areas parks.
Yeah.
Because
well, that would be the right thing to do from just an everyday point of view. You don't want to.
Logically speaking, I mean, why keep building buildings that are going to get wrecked? I mean, when I moved here 20 years ago, they had a flood they called 100-year flood.
Oh.
Pretty terrible. But not as bad as this one, obviously. This one, they're saying like 500, 3,000 year. I don't know. There's a bunch of different numbers that people throw around. But
I've heard it said that we were hit worse than Katrine. Is it worse than Katrine? It is, right? That's what I heard. I don't know.
who you talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know some people, friends of mine that had experience with the Katrina response were very concerned about us and, calling me and like, is anybody helping you guys? Because the response was kind of messed up down there. They didn't do it good enough, quick enough. I don't know, really. I wasn't there, but
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how things went here. Everybody really pitched in so beautifully, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time. It's going to be a long time to clean it up. I mean,
Yeah.
that I'm seeing about River Arts is like constantly still, we need volunteers. We need volunteers to clean this mess up,
Yeah.
And it's so huge. It's a huge mess. It's going to take a lot more than just a little team of volunteers.
I mean, there's a case to be made that, some of the parts of the government, right, like military branches,
Yeah.
one would think that some of those branches could be used for peace, like cleaning up river arts and doing things like that, as opposed to getting involved in conflicts and war. I mean,
Yeah, it'd be nice for
one man's opinion, because there's a lot of work to be done.
right?
Like a civilian corps,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I don't know, it's just an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. Well, and we're seeing some of it. They're here helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, it's been really great having you on the show and looking into is that your studio there, or is it?
Yeah, I honestly did not expect to have your viewpoint to be the messy part of my room.
Oh well.
Oh well,
I'm
it's
sorry.
reality right here.
It just is where it is, right? I mean,
I got all the toys though. You can make almost anything in this room. It's pretty great.
is there anything you want to show me back there? Or?
It's a jumbly mess, but yeah. This is how it looks in an artist room, guys. It takes a lot of tools, jewelry.
Tools, yeah.
We have more tools than anybody, and as you can see.
What is that wooden behind you? This looks like circles with wood. Do you know why?
Oh, this way? Let's see.
No, the other way. Yeah, what is that? Looks like some kind of a
little display. It's a little,
okay.
Yeah. I hang jewelry in the little cells of the thing.
Is that an ironing board or?
Yeah. I also used to own a fabric store here in Asheville.
Oh. Oh wow! Don't get me started. You can see I'm in the fabric, so.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
From West Asheville, that was called Kitsch Fabrics.
Oh wow!
I did that in the 2010s.
Oh okay.
It was really fun.
Do you think we'll ever do that again, or is that just had its season? Or
well, it kind of hit a rough. I mean, I chose to do it at a bad time, honestly. People just don't want to sew. It's slow.
Well,
it's slow, and people don't have the bandwidth for it much, So also the fabrics got so expensive,
Yeah.
I mean,
I could say it's someone that wears custom tailoring, which I do, and chooses fabric. All the fabrics have gone through the roof. All the prices of wool and silk and even cotton have all. People talk about inflation. There's nothing. Milk and bread is got nothing on.
Fabrics, no kidding.
Oh, yeah. like this, like things like this handkerchief. Of course, that's hand stitched there, but
nice.
Something like this is like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
at the time when I was running my little shop, most people that were sewing were doing quilts, and quilting fabric got to be $13 a yard or something like that. So people would say, "Oh, make me a quilt," like, "Oh, that'll be easy and great." And it's $300 or $400 worth of fabric.
Well,
just to
it is like making a suit and making a sport coat. It's not really that different.
Yeah, I mean, and at that time there was 10 fabric stores in Asheville.
Wow.
And no more. No. We have maybe 3 in the Asheville area now. It's sad because we used to have one here that was called Wachters that had been here for years. It was so good. And
Well, people talk a lot about in the philosophy realms. That's a whole other space, not the artist space. About it, do civilizations decline? Is there such a thing? I could say, well, yeah. I mean, you could. So a good evidence of the decline of a society is if you have less fabric stores. If you go from 4 fabric stores to 2, that's a sign of decline. That's how you. There's something wrong with that society. That's your.
yeah.
That's um. That's um. Yeah, people don't want to do people understand labor and labor intensive, right? You
Well,
said people don't even understand sewing and don't understand.
yeah, it's funny because on one hand, I think there's like the attention span thing from our phones and whatnot,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That makes it hard. But I keep some hope and faith in that I see,
Yeah.
young people who are determined to keep some of this stuff alive.
Yeah.
Part of the whole reason that the River Arts District was so thriving was because there was a lot of young people who want
Interesting. Yeah.
to play with clay
Yeah.
or spin some yarn, do weaving, make baskets, what
Oh
have
yeah.
you, you know? So there are plenty of people who still cling to these
Yeah.
almost arcane arts, but
Well, they're the thing that I mean they're arcane from a point of view. It depends on one's point of view, right? I mean, as I've said, they're a basis of civilization. I mean, I feel there is much of infrastructure as water and air and bread, agriculture. Because what are the first thing humans do after they eat? I guess is they want to make something to reflect upon themselves, whether it's to make up a story or write a story or what do they want to do? They need to wear something, so they got to design a dress, or they got to put something on, and if they're gonna have a roof over their head, they want to decorate the roof. They don't want they want something on the wall, right? If they're gonna have a
yeah,
wall, to put it in such a blunt way, but that's true, right? That's gonna
yeah, it's yeah, we need it
yeah
just as much as anything else.
yeah
Yeah, got to feed your soul.
yeah absolutely. Um, well, thanks, Amy. I really appreciated your time, and I
Yeah,
hope we can do what we can. I hope this episode helps.
yeah. Thank you so much for chatting
Thank
with me.
you.
All right, we're done.